Erased Destiny. Chapter 3. Planning and Executing. Usually quiet and lazy winter that year brought Merigold more work than any summer. Every day, the girl trudged in the snow to deliver to Amanda outfits sewn by her mother. During the day, she combed the fleece, and in the evening, she carried home the fabric ready for sewing. The layers thrown over her back warmed Merigold better than the leather gifted by Topaz, although she found it very useful too. Merigold's employment made a significant difference to the lives of everyone in the household. Abella gladly returned to her profession and welcomed increased income to their budget. Village life stopped bothering her. Rosa's illnesses became less significant interludes to a much more colorful daily life filled with wool and linen. Raglan, as he did every winter, helped his wealthier neighbors with the slaughter. In the evenings, with a beer in hand, he would sit by the fireplace and watch his wife sewing. He was afraid they won't be able to do all fieldworks on time on spring due to absence of Merigold, who was always actively helping him, but he decided to not worry about it before spring. He hoped that Merigold would abandon her post and return home, as hard working was obviously bad for her health. All the household chores fell on Rose: washing dishes, doing laundry, house cleaning, and cooking. Whenever she saw her elder sister, she would play exhausted, ill, or offended so that Merigold would do the outstanding chores for her. But Merigold rarely had the strength for anything more than eating dinner and going to bed. The daily 4-hour trek amidst the snow effectively drained the girl of energy. Despite the inclement weather, it was not the marching that bothered Merigold the most, but the tedious combing of the wool. Threads produced by Amanda on her spinning wheel, Merigold delivered to weavers, then collected fabric, which required a different color. What is more, Merigold had to collect all ingredients needed to prepare dye stuff. That was really a lot of walking. Since Abella joined Amanda's workforce, they expanded their assortment. In addition to threads and fabric, they sold some basic clothes as well, although they didn't produce anything extraordinary, and instead of taking the measure of their customers, they offered few standard sizes of basic clothes. More and more customers visited Amanda every day. Prices lower than those of the competition appealed to the poorer citizens more effectively than fancy signs and richly decorated shop windows. Merigold knew where to find all the species of debarked trees and some of the flowers and stems. She knew which tracks and sounds to avoid. Wandering the surrounding hills and traversing the wooded thickets, Merigold dreamt of a different job. Every minute of free time she used to practice swordsmanship. Whenever she met Topaz, they talked about wild animals, how to hunt them, how to skin them, how to prepare meals out of their meat. She considered working as a herbalist as well. Apprenticeship in herb garden or helping local witch doctor were Merigold's best options. She was sure that her parents would approve such career path for their daughter. There was only one small problem. Neither herbalists nor witch doctors looked for an apprentice. Therefore, Merigold looked for any other option available. Anything that didn't involve being in a room reeking of urine and raw wool.
We run out of barber's root. Would you go to the hill and bring some?
How does it look like? Barber's plant?
Amanda showed 2 hands-long creamy root resembling a thick stick. Merigold nodded slowly. It took quite an effort to dig something like that out of the frozen ground.
Barber's plant is a weed. It reaches to my waist. I'm sure you've seen the black stem, from which tiny red flowers grow in summer. The leaves of the barber's plant are also black, so long and thin like needles. Pick some flowers of the winterberry as well. It's about time.
With 2 baskets in her hands, Merigold left the town. Winterberry could be found by the water, so the girl kept to the riverbank. Nuggets of ice floated on the surface of the water, heralding the imminent warming and the end of the winter. Merigold stopped for a moment to pluck small plants growing in the snow from their flakes. Ludin was usually more frosty. This time, it covered everything with a thick duvet of sticky fluff. If Merigold had time for winter madness, she would have been happy to build the biggest snowman ever, or to participate in a snowball battle for 3 days in a row. Meanwhile, instead of thinking about fun, she was looking around for the hill Amanda had mentioned. She got a metal rod to dig out the roots, but nature was still resisting the sun, and Merigold feared that even with the help of a piece of metal, she would not get anything out of the ground. After an hour of walking, Merigold had a few handfuls of petals and not a single root. She looked around, but could not see any black stalks. The white fluff, covering everything, not only slowed down her trudging through the forest, but above all masked the plants underneath. It was getting colder, and the wind was knocking icicles and balls of frozen snow off the branches. To make things worse, Merigold feared that she got lost. Everything looked the same when covered by the snow duvet. Instead of retracing her steps, the girl turned left towards the denser thickets. There, she decided to rest for a while, eat something, and think about the further search. She shoveled away the snow with her boots to reveal a patch of reasonably dry ground under a spreading pine tree. She took bread out of her apron and used a pile of snow as her drink. Shielded from the wind, she rubbed her hands together and tried to work out how far she had walked from the town. The creaking of snow under someone else's boots made Merigold curious. The girl got to her feet and moved towards the sound. After a moment, she saw adepts of magic discussing spirits, ghosts, and ghouls animatedly. The boys were marching through the forest in search of some ruins.
Good morning. Do you know where Barber's root grows here?
Barber's root? Not really. And do you know where the old cemetery is? The one with columns at the entrance and a big boulder in the middle?
I know, but I don't have time to go with you. It's a long way from here, wherever we are at the moment.
Adepts looked at each other. The girl they had encountered in the forest was dressed not warm enough and looked as if she was in a great hurry. They read from her nervous movements that she urgently needed that root.
Help us and then we'll look for a barber's root together. And if we're unsuccessful before dark, we'll buy you those roots in the herb garden. We have slept outside for 3 nights and we want to return home. Unfortunately, without the ring that was hidden on that cemetery, the master won't let us in. It is our year's exam.
Merigold looked at the boys, who were older than herself. They did not look frozen. Certainly not the kind that slept in the snow.
I don't believe you. You would freeze.
We can do magic. Fire vortex. See?
Overlapping spirals of orange energy instantly dried the cloak of enchanting boy.
If I go with you, I won't make it back to Sintra before the gates close.
We know another entrance. Please, help us.
The boy warmed the stiff girl with a fiery whirlwind. He took from her the empty basket and the one with the flowers. He offered a slightly frozen sausage. Merigold thought about the proposition for a moment. Getting to know another entrance to the town tempted her enough to agree on the terms presented to her.
I will show you, but we must hurry.
They retraced their steps back, following Merigold's footsteps a little more, and came to a road familiar to the girl. From there, they set off cross-country towards her village. They crossed the fields belonging to Jargon's parents and entered the leafless forest. After a short but arduous climb due to the accumulated snow, they saw a graveyard lying in a basin topped with stone columns.
Barber's plant.
Several clumps of black stalks were growing on the hill. The girl began to dig up the frozen ground with a borrowed rod.
Move aside. Mother Earth, hear my voice. Control.
The joy was overshadowed by anxiety. The last rays of the setting sun lit up the hill and the road leading to the town. 3 hours. That was how far Merigold was from the gates, which would be closed any moment now. There was nothing left for her to do but return home for the night and carry the roots in the morning.
Give us few minutes to complete the task and we take you to Sintra. Don't worry, you have helped us a lot and we won't abandon you now. Please rest for now, you look very tired.
They went down the hill, and Merigold stayed near her baskets. She really felt tired. Not only she woke up early in the morning, she has spent whole day on wandering the forests. She sat down on the snow, hoping for magical transport to Sintra, not another 3 hours of walking. Her parents had warned her not to wander around the old graveyard unnecessarily, and she had never felt the need to do so either. Merigold watched the boys fighting the phantoms with fireballs and ice bolts. She figured out that they wouldn't get anywhere this way, as ghosts were immune to that kind of spells. After a while, the terrified and defeated adepts joined Merigold uphill. Sweaty, pale, barely moving their hands as if they had been hit by a paralyzing spell.
So, are we going back? I need to dry my clothes.
Just a little while longer. We will find a way soon.
They watched the graveyard below them, as if looking for a way around the specters. Unfortunately, there were many more dead people roaming around than should have been. After a moment's thought, Merigold decided that someone must have lured those ghosts with a spell.
What are you looking for? A ring?
Yes, the silver ring with a black eye.
I will bring you that ring, if it means returning Sintra.
Merigold stood up, shrugged off her clothes, and went downhill. Unperturbed by the specters, who completely ignored her presence, Merigold walked between the tombstones. On a broad green leaf she found a ring. She picked it up and returned to the adepts.
Specters don't attack mortals if they behave peacefully. Phantoms are far more dangerous, they bite and steal energy.
How do you know? Do you study magic? We haven't seen you in the school.
It is a common knowledge. I am not magical, sorry.
Merigold didn't know how knowledge about ghosts and other magical creatures appeared in her head. She didn't know a thing till an hour before. Bones stuck out of the ground in the place where Merigold sitted.
Are you sure?
Yep, bones on the graveyard aren't surprising, are they? Can we go home, please?
Right away. From here to the House of Magic and back to that hill. In a moment's blink, a tearful sigh created a gate.
The air trembled, and, after a time, far longer than described in the Elementless Magic Handbook, took the shape of a grayish sheet in a silver frame. The magical creation crackled and shimmered at the top, as if it were about to collapse into itself.
It is a portal. Just enter it in.
Merigold appeared in Sintra, on the other side of the market. Hardly had her feet touched the cobblestones, the pain of magic blurred into the darkness of night. The surprise on Merigold's face quickly gave way to horror. She could have been killed by a bunch of undereducated, clueless adepts. For a moment she stood outside the House of Magic, but no one appeared. Hoping the boys hadn't been killed during the teleportation, she returned to Amanda.
I was worried about you, that the wolves had eaten you. Why didn't you come back for so long?
I couldn't find Barber's route. I got lost and couldn't find the way back. I am sorry.
Go inside, warm up. The gates are already closed, so I'll lodge you for the night. I'm sure you're very hungry.